We're talking about Pokemon. We're talking about Scarlet and Violet, the newest Pokemon game releases that have, as usual, taken the internet by storm in an eruption of lots of angry Pokemon fans and lots of controversy, but also some happy Pokemon fans as well, if you can believe that.
If you can
We
believe
wanted
it.
to just talk about, I guess, a little bit of everything involving these games, but first and foremost, Anthony and Frankie, what are your initial thoughts on the game? Actually, I wanted to start with Frankie because typically Frankie waits for someone else to buy him the Pokemon games. And this is the first year that he actually ponied up the goddamn money himself. What do you think so far, man? Usually you wait a couple of years to play the newest Pokemon
Not a
games.
couple years, relax. I got Arceus a few months after it came out, or not even the same year, same year.
A few
Morning.
months.
Not even. I got it for my birthday. And then it came out in January, did it not? Yeah, exactly. So we're
Yeah,
good. We're good. We're good. Look,
you're getting
all right.
better.
I I waited because I wanted to see what the initial reactions were going to be, and I'm happy I saw it because obviously, like, we didn't know. Okay, we knew what from the trailers we got hyped, but obviously I broke my rule of, like, try to keep your expectations low. But I think we all got way too hyped because we wanted to do all these amazing things that was going to happen. There was some things that we definitely had some major gripes with, which was one being the terrestrial, and that's going to be my major issue with the thing is terrestrial. As long as I've been playing this game, which is only about 3 days, um, still can't get into it. It took me a little bit to get more into Dynamax. Dynamax quickly really sold me. But this game and its terrestrial garbage nonsense, it's not for me. I don't like that part.
Is
But
it the hats? Is it the funny
it's
type
it's
hats?
the funny tank, like the little hats
Yeah.
and the crystallization stuff. It's okay. It's not amazing. The
I
raids
don't
are
mind
really
that as
easy.
much as the hats. They look so stupid.
I hate the delays of an attack. Like it'll say, "Oh, so and so will use something," then they do one animation, and then they did a move.
They had something
Yeah.
better with the Dynamax Den raids and all that. I think that should have been kept. It takes place in fucking Europe still, clearly, because they're, you know, or that same area because they're sharing some Pokemon. Um, it clearly was UK inspired. This is clearly Spanish inspired, so it's all in the same, like, general part of the
So
world.
there's a theory as to why that is. Why it's not in, different games. Because there is two different Pokemon timelines according to these games.
Sure,
But you know,
right, I get that, but even then, like, come on, like, I get it, like Lola has, like, what do they have? Z
all the
These
Z
moves.
moves,
moves.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I get it. Anyways, look, my first initial reactions to the game, I'm happy I waited the week because I wanted to see the what potentially was going to be said. It's fair to say I don't think we were ready for what was going to happen. The fact that this game basically for some people it was broken. I did have one crash that scared the shit out of me, and I thought everything was gone. And this was right at 2 a.m. when I was still fucking playing. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to bed like this. This better not be happening. I was ready to fucking destroy my cartridge and send it to Failtendo and with a letter containing many profanities and whatnot. But, like, luckily it didn't happen. Like, the worst didn't come to fruition. So I was very happy that didn't happen. But I'm sure other people are not happy because of some of, like, the really bad. There's some really bad glitches. You guys have seen it. I've seen them, but that hasn't happened to me. Besides the random shutdown, I went in literally into the gym and then it shut off. Like, it was like a huge error or whatever. So I sent the that error message to Nintendo. So hopefully they patch some of this bullshit up. But overall, I'm having fun. I'm having fun with the game. I'm enjoying the game. I'm putting way too many hours into this game already. I played on my way down to work, played during my lunch break, played coming back up from running my errands on the train. I'm having a good time. Pokemon is what it is. It's gonna, especially for us who grew up playing, it's gonna be addicting. It's gonna, like, the hunt, the desire to complete and level up and see the next evolutions and build your team, especially where a world that's so immersive that even if it got too carried away in itself because the game does not run as smoothly as Arceus. Arceus runs and it looks. I think Arceus for the limitations of the Switch looks really nice. looks better than Sword and Shield, but Sword and Shield looks better than this game. The game plays well. I like the open area. It's exactly what we wanted. It's, basically Breath of the Wild, as my wife would call it. And she saw me playing and I inspired her to play Pokemon again. She's like, this is like Breath of the Wild. You would love Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild. Like every sentence was Breath of the Wild.
It's the
Clearly she's a
greatest game
fan.
ever made, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would love the conversations with her. Um, so like I appreciate open world stuff. If you have played any open world games like, uh what's that dinosaur game? Zero Dawn?
Oh,
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn,
So,
yeah.
that's an open world game. Um, what Skyrim, anything Skyrim, Elder Scrolls related is an open world game. It's fun exploring. And Chris, you said it best, and I'll leave it. I'm not gonna say what you said, but like I see why you spent 6 hours just doing nonsense essentially. But I'll let you explain it. But overall, just to sum up my thoughts, because I'm kind of the casual, technically not. I don't know. Like I just had I definitely got like I didn't want to get sidetracked. I wanted to focus on like the story at hand, building my team while doing everything, juggling a balance of good things. And so far, I think I've done a pretty good job to the point where like I have almost the most important things in order to travel and get across
Mm.
this fucking massive land because I think that is important. But it's just so hard to like not get there because you want to do these other things and catch everything. And it's a lot. I don't know how a 12-year-old mind like you must this like a 10-year-old, 9-year-old must have like ADHD plus. We may have to edit this out because I might offend somebody out there, but like a kid must have some unstable like working mind to have to just be able even then there might be sensory overload for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this is fun. Imagine if it wasn't on a Switch and it was on a better console. As I
Was
know we've had this conversation, but
yeah.
again, we'll save that for
I
you guys.
was I was talking to a client of mine, and she was asking me if I was like playing anything because I told her I got God of War, and I was like, yeah, I played God of War for a total of 5 hours, which is pretty good over the first week that I had the game. And we
Hmm.
have lives, so we can't like just sit at home all day playing video games. At least that's what I thought until I got Pokemon. And I've had Pokemon now for I guess 2 weeks, and I've played for about 30 hours, which is an ungodly amount of time when you look at how non-progressed I am in the actual game overall. But one of the things I told her was that I think this is the most addictive version of the Pokemon gameplay loop that they've ever done,
Yeah.
because I feel like they were almost conditioning us in Arceus to like get used to like catching a lot of Pokemon, because that's one of the
Hmm.
things that I literally never used to do in the old games. Like if the Pokemon looked lame, I'd just be like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm just gonna kill this thing and never catch it.
Yeah.
And now it feels like because of Arceus, I'm like super keyed in. I'm like, oh, gotta catch this. Oh, this is a new. I don't have this one. Gotta catch this one. But the way the game is set up, it's just Dave, like from a gameplay perspective, if you want to dunk on the game for the performance and the glitches and Game Freak not being given enough time, feel free to dunk on it until you are blue in the face about how much you hate Pokemon. But from a gameplay perspective, I feel like they have really perfected what they want this franchise to be, which is clearly like more heavily into an open world JRPG game.
Hmm.
But just to make a point about just how difficult it is to actually focus on the story missions in the game, I spent a good 5 hours today where my only mission was to explore the map and evolve my to get a shiny Corviknight. So I had a Corvisquire, caught a Rookity into Corvisquire, thought it evolved at level 32. Turns out it evolves at level 38. So I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have to grind. So I was like, all right, well, while I'm grinding, I might as well like, knock out some Pokemon to like build up shiny odds for other stuff. And
Hmm.
that was like 4 or 5 hours of my day. I
Jesus
didn't do
Christ.
any of the story missions at all. Got sidetracked with like a Venomoth, like what do they call it?
Raid.
Outbreak or whatever.
Oh, Outbreak. Okay.
Yeah, it's It's really addictive. It's really addictive. It's kind of insane. This is the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon game. Yeah. What about you, Anthony?
So I've been hopping between this and Ragnarok. I stopped playing Bayonetta when I got this game. Um, nothing bad against that, but I made my review on my channel for this game, and I think I said something about this might be the greatest Pokemon game ever made in the sense of what it offers as an open
Mhm.
world Pokemon game. And when Chris, when you sent us those Twitter posts about the low performance, um, I do not believe that they were day one patch performances because I have not seen a single thing in my gameplay that has that kind of
Yeah.
performance. But this is, in my knowledge, the first Switch game to get Nintendo to give refunds back to people who bought it digitally
Hmm.
because Nintendo does not give you refunds on digital purchases. They say, "Hey, you should have done your research if you didn't like the game. Like that's on you." Um, I don't think the games run as bad as people say they do. Yes, they do have some performance issues, but it's an old argument of it's on Switch, inferior hardware. But there's a lot of Pokemon. I love the new designs for a lot of these new Pokemon. Um, the map is pretty massive if you think about it.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Um,
very
It's
massive.
huge.
and I have seen a couple of things that I can't spoil, but I'm like, I want to get to that point. I can't wait to see this stuff
Mm,
for myself. And I like what they were doing with the idea of the past and future thing. Um, it's very interesting. And just like Frankie, I don't like the terrestrialized thing. My favorite has always been the Mega Evolution.
mm,
And I thought that they should have just kept the Mega Evolution because it was awesome. And some of those designs were pretty cool. I didn't care too much about Gigantamax and Dynamax. I liked it more than Z moves though, but
yeah.
um, for me, Megas was the thing. Like I just wish they'd bring back Mega Evolution.
Sure.
Um, but I would hope that this opens the door even further for. I mentioned this to Chris, I think, where we know the next games might be black and white remakes. If not, it'll be something else and then the remakes,
Very
right?
likely.
But if it is, those would be cool open worlds too, because those were like there was like a New York area or based off of New York type of thing in those
Yeah.
games. I want to see an open world black and white, and I hope that we get it. But for now, it is fun. I do want to try the co-op, and with the freedom to do whatever you want in the order you want. My only issue was I had a fear of could I breeze through the 8 gyms like nothing because
Mhm.
in older games you have a lot of things in between things with like Team Rocket or Team X Team whatever, and then these other side things. You don't really get too much of that here, from what I saw. It's more so here's 8 badges, here's what 5 Titans, and here's what is it 5 Team Star thingies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, not much in between in terms of like those kind of story elements. Because even like was it Omega and Alpha or Ruby and Sapphire, you have those moments where you got to stop Team Aqua or Team Magma from doing this and stop them from doing that. So I had the fear of breezing through the game. I put about 28 hours into it, and I got what 5 badges. I just beaten the last Titan, and I only did one Team Star thing. So there's a lot more you can do in the game other than just breezing through it. You
Yeah.
just have to be willing to explore and
Mhm.
find it.
Yeah. We saw this a lot in Arceus where they really rewarded exploration. And it feels like they've leaned into that even more. I was gonna ask you guys because we don't really have like a strict, I guess similar to the Pokemon games, we're gonna kind of just jump around as we talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But um, I have accumulated about 300,000 Poké Dollars, and I find that aside from buying Pokeballs or Great Ball, whatever, like just that general item,
Mhm.
I don't buy anything at
Same.
the shop.
There's so much more shit you get for free, and I love that. You get more like potions and stuff you find. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love it. This should have been more of a thing back in the original games. Like there should have been I feel like if I have to face the Elite Four, I'm gonna be okay. I don't have to spend any of my money because I'll have 30 revives by then, hopefully. And
Yeah.
a bunch of full restores that I won't have to use.
It's
I bought a few just on my end for whatever I needed for, but
Sure.
I do appreciate that you don't have to go to your bag to heal a Pokemon. You can just go press the X button, go to the Pokemon you want to heal, and press the minus button,
It's
and it'll
such a
just
good
heal them.
feature.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't notice something that might have been removed. I remember in previous games, if you have a Pokemon that fainted and you put them in the box, they're supposed to get like 1 HP back. And
Yeah.
I tried it in this one, and I tried to switch it out for I've tried to put an egg in the box and take like one my Pokemon that was supposed to be revived. And it
Mhm.
said if you do that, you won't have any Pokemon that can battle, so we can't let you do that. And I was like, well, why is my Talonflame not healed from being in the box? But
I
uh
I thought they took that out in Gen 8. I could have sworn I remember doing the same thing of like putting it in, putting the Pokemon and taking it back out, and it was like still fainted. And I was like, oh, all right.
I never noticed if it did. I never noticed
Yeah.
that.
But it is worth noting that like there are, and I think that sometimes when a game comes out and it has like very obvious performance issues, whether or not there's a day one patch available, um, it becomes hard for the general audience to focus on anything else because that noise is so loud about look at all these glitches, look at how viral like this, stupid glitch in the game is going.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of really good quality of life improvements that we've been like begging for, or certain things that they've added without me really thinking like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. I'm glad that they added this into the game. But I feel like the most evident one is the removal of HMs, which got a lot of flack over the years, especially in Gen 4 when you couldn't beat the game unless you had every single HM
Mhm.
attributed to a Pokemon going through Victory Road. And
Bidoof.
oh yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, Bidoof. Bidoof,
Oh
Bidoof,
my
Bidoof.
God, Bidoof the HM slave, RIP. But we got different like rideable Pokemon or Pokemon with abilities. Most recently in Arceus, they had like four ability Pokemon. They've finally perfected it. One Pokemon does literally everything, and you don't have to keep it in your party. So you get to
Mhm.
just ride around. I do wish I could pop a wheelie. I'm just being honest. Like when I'm riding that fucking motorcycle, I'm like, God, I wish I could fucking pop a wheelie on this
Remember, you
thing.
could do that. I think in Gen 3, you could pop a wheelie. No?
Yeah, you could do a
Yeah, on
willy
the
and do
on the
the
macro
hops.
bike.
Yeah, yep.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of really good quality of life improvements. I think just the general like battle atmosphere now of like you're fighting a Pokemon in the wild, and in Legends Arceus, all the Pokemon would like run away or fade away, and it would just be one on one or maybe a couple of Pokemon you're fighting at the same time. And now there's the Pokemon in the background just like walking around, just like
Mhm.
hanging out. Like
Yeah.
I was fighting a I forget what the name of that new Pokemon is, but it's like Rafiki, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, but I was fighting it, and it was in the middle of the Venomoth outbreak, and there were
Uh-huh.
just like six Venomoths just like all spectating the fight,
Yeah,
and I
it's
was like,
pretty.
this is kind of awesome. Um,
I
Karina
got
thinks it's
yeah, I
jumped
don't know.
by
I
a
mean,
team of Tauros.
have you guys noticed stuff that you've been like, oh, this is a cool feature that I didn't like realize I was going to be excited for?
I like that the Pokemon can be very interactive. Like when you go idle, I noticed that some of them just start running circles around you. That was just a little random thing. I thought it was kind of adorable. Um, Let me see. Um,
You know what? I noticed something that was pretty funny actually.
mhm.
So I was you do the auto battle. So I have
Ah,
my starter doing the auto battle, which I made my TikTok video about like some things that are good, some things that are bad. There's a lot of cool shit in this game. So my starter was running around because my starter gets excited and runs around, runs in the water, and the platform that it stands on during a battle on water appeared. So my starter was standing on that platform in the wild, and I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Some
yeah,
Pokemon like Paw Me or what's that one called?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
He will actually float in the water.
yeah.
yeah.
And it's like these little things. We were talking about this the other day, like little details in video games, like people will also notice the smaller things that are like, you guys didn't have to do that for us, and you did. We appreciate that.
The little
Um,
things.
There was something that actually just happened to me today where we should highlight the auto battle feature is fantastic. That is
yeah.
one of those things that I'm like, I didn't realize I needed this, and now that it's in the game, you can never take it out. But I was trying to evolve this Corvus Squire. So I was sending it to auto battle, literally everything. I didn't care about type advantage. And I sent it to fight one of the Rafiki things. I know I'm aware that that's the Lion King guy. I just don't remember the name of the Pokemon. But I sent it out to fight this Rafiki and it got beat up because it doesn't have a type advantage and it came back to me. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll like use something else. So I throw out, I think Cyril Edge or whatever the sword fucking Edward Scissorhands guy is. I sent him out to fight it in a regular battle, and it still had the damage that Corvusquire had done to it.
Mm,
So
Oh, okay.
instead of just resetting its health bar, which I think is like what would happen in Arceus if you like ran away and fought the same Pokemon, I was like, wow, that's such an interesting detail because it's the continuity of like I tried to fight a Pokemon. It was too strong. My Pokemon knew it was too strong, so it came back before it fainted. I
mhm.
switched out into a regular one-on-one battle, and the damage that my Corvusquire did do still showed up. And I was like, man, that's cool. That makes it feel way more realistic.
Yeah.
It just like, and I think that's one of those things where it's like there are these small aspects of these new Pokemon games that like there's a chance a decent size of the player base just will never have those interactions. And so you won't see like some of these really small but like important details that they've added to the games.
Yeah,
Like,
I love the potential of like how pretty this game could be. Even though like I already know like this game, as I said it, like this game isn't that well, it's not graphically made. It's not well graphically made. Um, it's a downgrade if you think about it, to me at least. I see it. If you guys notice it, I'm sure you guys are trying to avoid that conversation. I'm not a graphics guy too much either. I accept what this is, but like I love some of like the potential, like just seeing like the mountains in the background or you know, you can see Pokemon from far away. I'm like, oh, I wonder what that is. Like afterwards, like shit, let me go check that after I'm done with this battle or I'm done with this Pokemon. I want to see what's flying around. I love that you can throw a Pokeball to get flying type out of the sky because that was kind of an issue, technically, or in a way, like I think in the original, and like not in the original games, but in Sword and Shield, when there was like a flying type, in order to get its attention, you kind of just have to fly around it, and it'll like
yeah.
so now you can just throw your Pokeball at it. Um, and hopefully that eventually leads to like you being able to throw stuff at it to get its attention, kind of like in the Safari. It's weird that they remove some stuff that have been there before, like in Fire Red, you could talk, or yeah, in the Safari Zone, like in the OG games, or not OG games, but like in some of them, you could toss like a rock to annoy it, or a berry to get its attention, and that's essentially what you were doing in Arceus too. It was like one giant Safari Zone, but
Hmm.
he took it out, which I know that pains you, Chris. And I
Yeah.
did get used to that. I'm not gonna like sneaking up on a Pokemon's fun. Crouching, I feel doesn't do much in this game, so I feel like
No.
I don't see why they left it in there. I feel like maybe it was a mistake. Um,
That and the backstrike, which is in this game, even though it's way less satisfying, but it's almost completely useless compared to Arceus, where like it
yeah,
was you would get like extra money, I think, after you like went and talked to the professor at
it was
the
like a
end of
challenge to complete it.
yeah. And in this one, I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you do it, the Pokemon is stunned, but it's kind of useless because it doesn't really have a function in
Hmm.
this game versus Arceus, but you know.
So we do have to talk about some of the things that maybe shouldn't have been removed, but we understand why they may have removed it, such as the inability to buy tops and pants for your character. That bothers me mainly because when you start the game, they have you choose which character template you want to go with, and then your haircut, your eyebrows, your eye shape, and you can't buy shirts and pants. You can buy a new case for your Vodafone phone, but you can't buy shirt and pants. There's a store that sells just socks.
Yeah,
Like,
while we're on the note of the lack of clothing options, which is very bizarre coming from Sword and Shield and Arceus, where you had
Yeah,
like hundreds of items available.
drip for days.
There's a depressingly low amount of interiors in this game.
Hmm.
Um, I would say 95% of the stores are just a blank screen with sandwich
Mm-hmm.
recipes.
Yep.
And there's a shop in one of the cities that I walked into and it had an interior and it's an actual sandwich shop. And I was like, holy shit. I like legitimately thought there just wasn't interiors in the game aside from the first floor of a gym.
Hmm.
And it looked amazing. Like it looked so cool. And I was like, yeah, they just didn't have enough time, I guess, because it was essentially doing the same thing that the other sandwich shops do, which is just like you talk to the guy and he's like, okay, what do you want to order? And then it would send you to that screen that so many of the other places have. And I was just like, man, like Anthony and I were talking, it was like that was all part of the fun of Pokemon was breaking into people's houses and like they would give you free stuff.
Free
And
stuff.
yeah, I mean, I guess since you ride around and like items are just all over the actual
Right.
open world, but I do kind of miss like a lot of these towns, like you get to them and they feel so exciting. And then you realize there's literally nothing to do in the
Mm-hmm.
town except fight the gym leader.
Especially
And
because they teased you in the beginning because your house was a pretty big size house,
yeah,
and then you leave and it's like, guess what? Ain't nothing else you're gonna go inside of.
yeah. There's a lot of elements that feel like this didn't just wasn't given enough development time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but it feels like a lot of the ideas that Game Freak's been throwing out in the last couple of games are really cool.
Yeah.
And they're just not being given enough time to really flesh out the vision that they had. Because I remember when we played Sword and Shield and we got to the wild area, and it was so obvious that that was what they wanted the games to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you play Arceus and you get these like five wide open areas, but you always have to go back to the main town. And it was so obvious that they were like, fuck, if we had a little more time, we could figure out a way to like just make the whole thing open world so you don't have to keep going back and forth. And then they found a way to do it in this new game. But again, this is the culmination of them having to make like three games in 6 years and not being given enough time. Most big developers get that same amount of time for one game. So it's taking multiple entries in order to really flesh out the future of the franchise.
Oh, question. How do you guys feel about your starters? I'll go first. I feel, I guess this would be biased for the listener, is like I feel I got the coolest looking starter. I know Anthony, you disagree, and Chris, I think you probably disagree as well. But I think I have the coolest looking starter.
Well,
I don't
I
like
mean,
any of
we
them.
let you choose Fuecoco, so
Mm-hmm.
just
Sure,
want to
sure.
throw that out there. You bought the game last, bro. We could have both chosen Fuecoco.
Yeah, and I had it first. I almost chose him too, and I was like, let me honor our agreement, and choose grass. But I
I
Same.
almost
would have
chose him.
cared. Yeah, I could have done it.
Nah,
So
because we
yeah,
would have had two Fuecocos and one Quaxley.
Yeah, it
no,
wouldn't have worked, man. It wouldn't have worked.
like you can't go on eBay right now and buy them.
It's not the same, damn it.
Uh,
It's not, man. I mean, I thought about it, but actually, I did think about it. I thought about for another Pokemon. I'm not gonna say what it was, but I did think about it for another one. But no, I don't really like any of those forms. At the end, honestly, I don't like it. I just don't.
I I don't mind. Well, I haven't seen Fuecoco's final form, but I don't mind mine. I just think it like moves around too much, honestly.
Hmm.
Like I think the design is cool, but in battle, it's like constantly moving because it's like theming on like a salsa dancer, I
Right. I think
guess.
that's what it is. That it just moves too much, and I'm like,
It moves so much
yeah.
and it has a really cool signature move. But there's just too much going on when it's on screen. But I got to be honest, a couple of games ago, probably in Sun and Moon, I like abandoned the concept of starter Pokemon. I just like took it at the beginning because you like literally have to.
mhm.
And then in Sun and Moon, I was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna be the guy that has a buff ass Gengar. I don't need some like random ass starter Pokemon that I don't even like that much. Like, why am I gonna use it?
I don't need your
And I
Well, it's
poverty
just
funny
ass.
yeah, like I
because
carried that through the other games, like Sword and Shield. I kept Rillaboom for a while because I thought I actually liked that design a lot. And then in Arceus, I chose Oshawott, used it for a while, and then like there are just so many cool Pokemon that I just stuck it in the box and like started using other stuff. And that's kind of what I'm doing in this game as well. Like I don't I used to play that way where I like keep the starter on the team throughout the whole game. And now there are so many Pokemon. Like back then there was like 151 for all you Gen Zers listening. But these days there's like 1,000 of them, and I just don't want the only six choices I get. I don't want one of them to be taken up from the beginning of the game all the way through till the end. So right now, Quaxly's final evolution is chilling in the box.
Oh, there it is.
Comes out when I need a strong water type, but otherwise,
Plus, competitive players, they don't even use starters. They use other
no.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
think Venusaur was one of the only competitive starters, but yeah.
Quaxly's signature moves, is that the one that makes it rain after it?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Because mine sucks. Okay. And I was battling the rival. She has the water one, and she did a move that made it rain. I don't even know what the fire one signature is because I have the fire one, and I don't even know what the signature is. I don't think I got the signature. I got it from
Wait,
an
how do
egg.
you have the fire one?
Austin Douche made a video about trade codes and how you can get the other ones, and so
Ah,
I have like 6 eggs for the grass type, and I got a fire one from somebody
oh,
random, and I don't think I have the signature for it, but I was just like, I don't like the designs. I just
hmm.
don't.
So wait, you got Fuecoco?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I did
Interesting.
want to say, also, I guess before we wrap up,
Word.
I think they did a really good job choosing the Pokemon that got included in this game. Because, there's a finite amount of choices nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
In order for them, I guess, to get the game out on any sort of time, they can't include all 1,000 Pokemon. So they have to choose about a third, give or take.
Yeah.
And, at least just from riding around, I think they did a really good job. Like they chose a lot of the ones that at least we grew up being big fans of. I was really excited to see that we had early game access to Bagon. Early game is in like it's a low level, it's like level
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
25, which is
Really?
typically like you get that Pokemon way later in the game,
Yeah.
the
Like
pseudo
30,
legendaries.
35, yeah.
Yeah, so I just was really enjoying like all the Pokemon that made it, and I thought they did a pretty good job choosing them. Also, it's just cool to see like um I don't know, I think they said like every generation is represented. Um
So I did get to a part in the map where I saw Pokemon for the first time in the game there, where I was like, "Oh shit, you're in this game too? All right, cool." And "Oh shit, you too? Yeah, you whack, but at least you're in here. That's cool." There is one of my all-time favorites from X and Y. I won't say who it is, but it is in the game, and I'm happy that it is in the game.
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of good choices.
There is
I
a lot
I
of good
do want to
choices.
say the Charcadet evolution,
Mm-hmm.
Ceruledge,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
that is one of the greatest Pokemon designs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
It's
yours
Mega
is
Man.
your guys' is ball. That's why I kept saying that's why it's a Megamon.
It's
Of
dude, it's so crazy because like that I hate Bruxish, who somehow made it into this fucking game. That is one of the ugliest fucking Pokemon I've ever seen in my
disgusting.
life. Um, and the fact that the same company also made Ceruledge, which is one of the most badass Pokemon. It is a Pokemon that has fire swords for hands. That is fucking awesome. I don't know how
Hmm.
it eats food, but its hands are made of flaming swords. That is so cool. It looks like a fucking Mega Man. It's easily one of the greatest designs they have ever come up with. It could have been on the fucking box of the game instead of whatever, the Coridon, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's badass. I love it. I can't wait till the cards come out.
I can't wait either. And let's talk about our favorite Pokemon in the next episode. But for now, that's really going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching or listening. We'll catch you on the next one. Three Amigos out. Peace.